So we can absolutely expect to have cold weather and snow. Unfortunately, we had two big youth groups that were going to be with us today and had to cancel because they were in the snow belt and got more snow than we did. So we are about 100 people short of what we had intended to have here today. My name is Molly Smith. I am the president of Cleveland Right to Life. I want to thank you all so much for being here. And if we can, everybody can just maybe quieten down a little bit because we're going to try to get the program running. So those that are still getting lunch, I'd ask that you do that quietly, and then so that we can get our program up and running. I have a couple of thank yous to do right away. I want to thank our sponsors. We could not do this without the sponsors that are around, that have walked beside us as we've gone forward. Can everybody hear me, by the way? Can you hear me? Everybody can hear me? Hear you? I can shout. Can you all hear me at the back? You can hear, okay. I want to thank Ohio Right to Life, who very kindly stepped up and sponsored this event for us. We have worked very closely with Ohio Right to Life over the past several years, and we are thrilled to have the president of Ohio Right to Life with us today, and he will be giving a talk. He'll be talking to you all a little bit later. I also want to thank the Right to Life groups that have been as supporters of us. We have Columbus Right to Life with us. We have Northeast Ohio Right to Life, who is also a supporter. They will both be coming up and giving you a little bit of a rundown about what's happening here. And I would be remiss to not mention a couple of wonderful people who are always here and always providing us with incredible grassroots support, and that's Grace Christian Church. So thank you so much, Grace Christian, for all that you do for us as well. Then there are some people that I will be thanking as we go forward. We have music. We have a very interesting story to tell you about our music this evening. We had a school choir that was going to be here singing for us. And right at the last minute, they were unable to be here. So I thought this happened on Thursday night. So Friday morning, I checked my messages at the office, and sure enough, there's somebody who wanted me to call them back and wanted to do something to help us. So when I called the gentleman back, he answered that he was the entertainment wizard. And I thought, ooh, good, let me see what I can do here. Well, sure enough, I called Scott Sedlak back, and I discovered that what he wanted to do was to represent two groups being here today. One of them is the Thomas Jefferson Knowledge Institute, and the second one is the Christian Educators Association International. And he wanted to bring with him a book, a DVD, and a bookmark to give to every single person who participated in the march today. So when you're done, please go over and see Scott over there. When he finished telling me that, I said, do you think I could be bold enough to ask you if you could come and bring your DJ stuff? And he said, sure, absolutely. So thank you, Scott. Great round of applause, otherwise we would have been using it. And speakers. So thank you so much to Scott. We also have to thank all our exhibitors. Thank you all so much for being here. We have Northeast Ohio Right to Life, 40 Days for Life. We have Cleveland Pregnancy Center, Womankind, Bethesda House of Mercies, Catholic Charities, of course, Cleveland Right to Life is over there. So please go around and have a look at their information. They are the ground floor of the change in the movement. If we are going to change the culture, these are the people who are going to do it. So please make sure you visit them. Then I am going to jump right in and ask Father Doug Brown, who is the pastor of, and the name's just changed. I always get it wrong, Father Doug. Our Lady Queen of Peace.
Close.
Okay, see, he's going to come and tell us. And Father Doug is going to pray with us and also give us a couple of really wise words. Thank you.
My name is Father Doug Brown. I'm from Mary Queen of Peace in Old Brooklyn. We're the merged parish of Our Lady of Good Counsel in Corpus Christi. So it's a pleasure to be with you all today, to walk in the cold, and to certainly do all that we can to promote life. I'll offer a brief prayer, and I have a couple of words I'd like to share with you, and I'm sure there are other speakers here today as well. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, we give thanks for this opportunity for us to be together, Lord, for us to truly unite in our efforts, in our prayers, and with our words. With prayer, all things are possible, Lord, and we know that. So we continue to pray for the defense of all human life from conception to natural death. Continue to be with us, Lord. Strengthen us. We ask this through Christ our Lord. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Just a brief reflection. Those of you from my parish know that I recently got a dog, and she's a great dog. She's a shepherd mix. Her name is Shadow. She's beautiful. She's a rescue dog. I got her from a rescue organization that saves dogs from extermination. And when I tell people this, their heart melts a little bit. How wonderful, rescue dogs, they're so wonderful, the best dogs of all. Well, I think of the work that you all are doing is rescuing unborn babies. And when I tell people my belief in the unborn, my belief in rescuing unborn babies, I don't always get the same reaction as I do when I tell them I have a rescue dog. The reaction is, why don't you give it up already? It's law. You're never going to change things. You know, people have a right to choose what they want to choose. I don't believe that. I wish that there was the same type of empathy and support for our pets and our animals that there is for the unborn. We live in an upside-down country where our pets are valued more than the unborn babies are. And again, don't get me wrong, I love my dog. She's a great comfort to me. But the protection of all human life should be of paramount importance more than anything else. The right to life is the principal life God has given to us. He gave us this life, this right. From this right, all other rights flow. It's the most important right. It's the most important reason why you're here. And I encourage you to continue fighting for that right to life, fight for the unborn, fight for those who no longer have a voice. Thanks very much. God bless you all. Again, you inspire me. Thank you. You didn't expect me to be so quick. Yeah. My sermons are double that. I'm kidding.
Thank you so much, Father Brown. I know I can always count on Father Brown. Whatever we're doing, I know that all the right to life groups, all the pro-life groups know Father Brown. If you need to get something done in the movement, go to Father Brown and he'll help you. So it's wonderful. You would have found on your seats these two items. One of them is our newsletter that we mail out. We're asking you to please take them home, look them over, understand what it is that we're doing, understand the pro-life events that are coming up. The second one is, if you can, we ask that you please help us with donations to keep going. Our organization is 100% volunteer. Everything we get in donations goes back into the program. So just remember that as you're doing this. Now, get out my trusty book and tell you where we are next. I'm not going to leave this open next time. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to ask Janine Jones, who is a member of our board as well as a member of the Political Action Committee for Higher Rights to Life. She represents District 8, which is our district. Janine is going to come up and introduce the politicians we're here today.
All of it? It's $13.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Molly.
Are you sure?
I'd like to recognize some of the people who made the effort to come out today, our great politicians. I'd like to start with Matt Lynch over here. He's got most of his family with him today. So his wife Laura is here, his daughter Carrie, granddaughter Timber, and his brother Jim. So Matt is running for an open seat, the 76th House District, which is in Geauga and Portage counties. So if you'd like more information about Matt and his stances on issues, you can check out mattlynch.com. Thanks, Matt. And over here we've got a whole group of great folks who are always supporting us. Rob Frost, the chairman of the Republican Party here in Cuyahoga County. And if you'd like to get involved in any way with the Cuyahoga County Republican Party, you can go to CuyahogaCountyGOP.com. And Rob is a great resource for us, so thank you for being here.
We've also got Tom Patton, who is our Ohio Senator for the 24th District, and he's running for re-election. And Tom is a lifelong Clevelander. He got 6 kids, 5 of them are girls. And so please check out Tom Patton's information, and I'm sure you'll find that he's a great supporter of ours. And then finally we have Jim Renacci over here, who is our U.S. Congressman for the 16th Congressional District. And that actually now includes Cuyahoga County. So you can look for Jim's information at renacciforcongress.com. So thank you so much for all of your support. We always do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Janine. And again, I can't emphasize enough that if we are going to defeat the culture of death that we know we are living in right now, we have to stay involved. We have to get out there and get involved. It's wonderful to see you all here today, but don't let this energy dissipate when you leave. Sign up to help somebody somewhere. If you're not sure what you want to do, sign up at our table. We will shoot you to the right places as to where people need help. So please, before you leave, make it a resolution right now that you will sign up to help somebody before you leave today. The next guest up is a very dear friend of mine who has done amazing work to help me in the work that I do. Honestly, Cleveland could not survive without this next person who's been walking beside us for the past 2 or 3 years. Mike Anadakis is the president of Ohio Right to Life. He has a very difficult job because, unfortunately, as we know, when you're in these types of positions, sometimes you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So there's no other way to put that. So, I think Mike has been able to navigate through some very difficult minefields, and he will tell you about how successful Ohio Right to Life has been over the last several years, but particularly this past year. Just unbelievable. Mike Anadakis, come on.
Thank you very much. I'm officially going to hire Molly as my new PR person. Very kind words, Molly. I'm going to talk for about 55 minutes, and then I promise, no, I'm joking. I know everyone's taking their time today, and I appreciate everyone being here. 2011, ladies and gentlemen, was a historic year for the pro-life movement in Ohio from a legislative perspective. Certainly we can all agree that our great pregnancy centers, some of which are in the back here, do the real work in the back. And thank you for all that you do. I'm going to be very focused in my comments because you need to hear from our elected officials more than you need to hear from me. If you're on our email list, you hear from me all the time. But elections have consequences. Let's face it, sometimes they're good consequences and sometimes they're bad consequences. State Senator Tom Patton needs to get back to Columbus, and we need to make sure that he's reelected. As I said at the beginning, 2011 was a historic year. Tom Patton was there for us every step of the way. 7 legislative measures were signed by Governor Kasich in 2011 because of Tom Patton and his leadership. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know he gets sometimes tired of seeing me because we're always knocking on his door asking for help down in Columbus. So thank you so much, Senator. And I've not personally met Mr. Lynch. I've talked to him on the phone. I know where he is on life, and he'd be a great addition in Columbus as well. Congressman Jim Renacci, ladies and gentlemen, as you probably remember, Obamacare was passed in the United States House of Representatives by 5 votes. 5 votes is how Obamacare got passed out of the U.S. House of Representatives. Shortly after that vote, Jim Renacci came calling and said, look, I'm offended, I'm appalled, I'm going to do something about it. He ran for Congress, he beat one of the guys that voted for Obamacare, and he's there for us now today, and you're going to hear from him. Elections have consequences. It's not the only thing that we do to end abortion, but if we don't elect good men and women to office, whatever that office is, we are going to be at the mercy of Planned Parenthood, NARAL, and others. So what we do in 2012 is going to set our course, because obviously the goal is to overturn Roe v. Wade, right? Absolutely. We don't hide from it. We make it known to anyone that will ask us. And as we know, overturning Roe v. Wade does not make abortion illegal. What does overturning Roe v. Wade do? It allows each state to set their own policy. So the men and women in the great state of Ohio, we can set our own policy as it relates relates to life. New York can do what they want to do, California can do what they want to do, but we should be able to decide in Ohio. Why do we live in a country where the issue of marriage can be determined by each state? A couple months ago, New York passed a law that said same-sex couples could get married. 2004, the great Buckeye State, we put in our Constitution that said marriage is between one man and one woman. Why do we live in a country where marriage can be decided by the states, but life can't? We need to elect a pro-life president, get one more justice on the court, we're going to overturn Roe, and then we're going to set our own policy in this state. I'm going to end with this. Imagine, just imagine, in 2008, if John McCain would have been elected and not our current president. I don't make many guarantees in life, but here's what I can tell you. We would not have Sonia Sotomayor and Elaine Kagan on the United States Supreme Court right now. Obama's 2 picks. We wouldn't. We would have John McCain's pro-life picks, and we would overturn Roe v. Wade right now. And I'll say this, and then I'll get on the stage, Molly. I know the clock is ticking. Presidents come and go every 4 or 8 years, hopefully 4 years in this current president's term. That's not the grand prize. The grand prize is the United States Supreme Court. Those justices sit there for life. Sonia Sotomayor is 51 years old. She'll be there for 30-some, maybe longer years. I'm 38 years old. I'll be 70, 72 when she decides to retire from the court. So keep in mind, whoever the nominee is to go against Barack Obama, if we don't elect, I guess it's going to be a him, if we don't elect him, the consequences of having 4 more years of our current president. So thank you very much. Thank you for all you do. You guys are the movement. We just humbly participate in Columbus. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Michael and Darkness. Now you see why we are doing so well. We have great leadership in Columbus, and we need to be supporting of them. If you want to get the information from Ohio Right to Life, please go to their website and sign up for their e-news, which is it's full of very pertinent information. I would also encourage you to do the same thing for Cleveland Right to Life, because we put out a newsletter every week with events that are coming up where you can actually participate in the pro-life movement. So please go to our websites and sign up. Get as many people to sign up as you can. This is going to be key. I'm just bouncing right over what Mike said. We need feet on the ground this year. This is a critical year. Please, be those feet for us. We need people to make phone calls, we need people to walk doors, we need people, and if everybody, honestly, if you each did 3 streets during the election season when we're trying to get our pro-life information out, it is absolutely phenomenal how impactful that can be. When people see you, if you prefer not to walk in your area, that's fine, we'll find you an area to walk in. If you prefer to just make phone calls, do that. If you want to help with emails, do that. Everybody has a job. Please get involved in 2012 in the election process. The next thing I wanted to say is I want to remind people that we also do have, and they will be here speaking again, our wonderful supporters, our 2 pro-life Right to Life organizations, Columbus and Northeast Ohio Right to Life. Thanks to them too for stepping up and being here with us tonight, this afternoon. I want to remind you too, this is a brand new thing that Cleveland Right to Life has taken on. We have a radio program from the Median on 12:20 a.m. every evening from 9 to 10. It is the first time nationally on the national Salem network that there has ever been a 1 hour dedicated to the pro-life movement. We are first in Cleveland doing that, and Cleveland Right to Life has done it. So it is an amazing thing. It's getting great traction. We've had amazing guests on. If you want to listen to past events, go to our website and click on From the Median, and you can download the podcasts. Phenomenal people have already been interviewed. So we have Dinesh D'Souza coming up, we have Professor Robert George, amazing amount of people. We will be asking our elected officials to come on and just tell them what's going on and giving us an update. So listen, 9 to 10, 12:20 or whkwradio.com, and you can listen to it on your radio, on your computer. Next up is, we wanted to introduce Congressman Jim Renacci, but I'm going to ask Rob Frost to come up. Rob has been a dear friend of the pro-life movement as the Cuyahoga County chairman of the GOP, and I know that I can always rely on Rob. If I've got something that has to happen, I can call Rob, and he's always there for us. So, Rob, welcome.
Well, thank you all, and thank you for welcoming me here this afternoon. And thank you, Father Doug, thank you, Molly and Janine and Mike, the whole team, everyone who's put this together. Good to see good friend Tom Olschlager here today as well. And thank you, Grace Christian Church. We've been out there and worked with you, and thank you for your support of the Life Movement and of us in general. Senator Tom Patton, always good to see you. And Matt Lynch, good luck to you. Where'd Matt go? There he is. Good luck to you in your run. I thought that Father Doug Brown's closing words were most appropriate, and they struck me, which he closed by saying, "You inspire me," because that's how I feel being here today. I want to thank every one of you for taking the time, being out here today, being out there earlier, being willing to show your strong support. You all know that by being so strong on the life issue, that you're going to be challenged out there. And you know that good, well-meaning elected officials who believe like you do in the life issue, they'll be challenged as they do their jobs. And they need to be hearing from you. It is very important, this work that you do, to make sure that these good elected officials, like the ones we're with here today and one who you're going to hear from soon, it's important that now they're not going to forget, the ones who are with us today, but they and their colleagues hear from you often, hear from you loudly. I'll give you one example, and you know there's a myriad of them. You'll be challenged, for example, people will try to make you ashamed of being pro-life, was referred to even before, and say, well, what about certain exceptions? You know, well, what I'll say to someone is if a crime's been committed, a crime of rape or a crime of incest, let's stop that. Let's reduce that. Let's address that. Let's address the crimes that are being committed. Let's work together to reduce rape. Let's work together to reduce incest. But you know, one of the first lessons that a young child learns, I know it's one of the first ones I learned, is that two rights don't make a wrong. And so if someone has been raped, or another crime has been committed, you think that killing a baby is going to solve that? Or even in the so-called unwanted pregnancy, do you think that perhaps something a person hasn't planned for, that killing a baby, taking a young life, is going to make that a better situation? And that's what we all need to remember as we talk with those elected officials who are out there. They need to hear things that to you and I are just common sense. And I'll ask you one more thing before I close and introduce our speaker, and that is, when you look around at these candidates this year, whether it's Tom Patton, or it's Jim Renacci, or it's Matt Lynch, or others, pick one of them. Pick at least one, but pick one of them who really is right there with you, and be their person. Be their person in your neighborhood. Be their go-to person in your city, and help them do everything that you can to help them, because it is so important that we keep sending good people into public office, both locally, in Columbus, and in Washington. Now, to that end, you already heard the basics about Jim Renacci. You know he's in Congress and that he represents Ohio's 16th district, which is going to include part of Cuyahoga County. And I want to tell you a little story about him before he comes up. See, I was just with him earlier today. We had another event out in the West Shore. And in the question and answer session, Congressman Renacci was asked, well, okay, we can see what's going on in Washington right now and the problems with this president, and that we're thankful for the Republican Congress standing up, being willing to stand against the Obamacare, for example. But Jim Renacci, if you get back in there and we have a Republican president, what are you willing to tell us? You'll stand up, even against the president of your own party. What are you willing to stand up and fight for? Not just, now it's not Barack Obama anymore, but you're willing to stand on principle. And the first answer out of Congressman Jim Renacci's mouth is, I'm never going to waver on the issue of being pro-life. I want you to welcome to the stage a strong pro-life congressman, Congressman Jim Renacci.
Thank you, everybody. I'm really honored to be here today. As you heard from Rob Frost, I've been traveling a little bit today in different places, but let me go over a few things. You know, as a proud member of the pro-life movement, I really am extremely honored to be here. As a new member of Congress, I've had the opportunity and the responsibility to fight for a great many things over this past year in Washington, but none more important than the fight to protect the sanctity of life. From the moment of conception on, it's incumbent upon us to recognize the value in every life and to protect it each and every day. Although we currently have many lawmakers in Congress who don't share our belief in the right to life, I'm very proud of the pro-life initiatives that we have been able to advance through the House of Representatives in 2011. Just to mention a few, in 2011 I voted for a ban on federal funding for Planned Parenthood, a full repeal of the President's health care bill, an amendment to the President's health bill to prohibit federal funds from being used to cover any part of the cost of any health plan that includes coverage of abortion services, and a bill to implement equal protection under the 14th Amendment to the Constitution for the right to life of each born and preborn human person. While I'm proud of each of those votes, we clearly have a lot more to do, and it's more important than ever that before we have that we get a pro-life president in the White House and pro-life leaders in control of Congress. As you know, do the redistricting, and you really need to take a look and see who your congressperson is right now. Because I just had one individual come up to me and say, "You're not going to be my congressman." And quite frankly, I may be his congressman because I now come up into Cuyahoga County and I take the western side of Cuyahoga County and a lot of those areas over there. But I'm in Summit, I'm in Wayne, I'm in Medina, I'm in Stark, and I'm in Portage County. So I'm actually in all of those counties. So I do have a much bigger district, and people got to know me from about $8 million worth of advertising that the other side did in the last election to try and actually make people not like me. But I'm pretty proud of my career and my background, and you really just need to get to know not only me, but all the politicians that run. You need to know what their background is, what their experience is, what they believe in. And don't listen to those 30-second commercials, because quite frankly, a lot of times with people, I learned this, and again, I'm not a politician, I'm a business guy, but I was fed up with what was going on in Washington. But the first thing I learned is I got I call it my political science degree, even though I don't have a political science degree. They told me when the advertising gets so tough, when the attacks against you and your family are so great, that usually means you're winning. So kind of keep that in mind when you start to see that occurring. We see it today in some of the political campaigns of the Republican Party, when the losers are just attacking the other guy. That's because he's winning. So I'm pretty proud that I heard that, but I wasn't sure what that meant. I learned very quickly when the attacks started coming. You know, I'm going to be running this year, 2012, November, which is probably one of the most important elections in our country's history. And I mean that sincerely. I know you hear that all the time, but this is probably one of the most important ones. Congresswoman Sutton is a career politician who spent the past 22 years in the legislature and in Congress. Now, she's going to be running against me. During her time in Congress, she's amassed the most liberal voting record of any legislator in our state and has a 100% pro-abortion record. When it comes to this issue, Congress Sutton and I, when it comes to any issue, Congress and Sutton and I really agree on very little, and the right to life is no exception. While I'm honored to have been endorsed by the high right to life in my past election, my opponent has earned a 0% rating for her votes on life issues. So, as you and I both know, all of these votes matter dearly. And therefore, who we send to Congress really matters dearly. For those of you who watch television, and again, I already talked about this in Remember 2010, my family and I were the target of some of the ugliest and most expensive political slime tests our state has ever seen. I had taken on a pro-abortion congressman at that time, who was one of the 5 deciding votes to pass the President's health care bill. And the liberal special interest spent over $6 million, $6 million in attack ads to try and stop our message in our campaign. But thanks to people like you, people who share our values, we prevailed, and I've served my first year in Congress because of that. For better or worse, I expect 2012 to be much the same. The same liberal special interests spending insane amounts of money on the same false personal attacks on me and my family will occur again. But I'll need you to stand up for me, and I hope I have you all behind me, because that's really what matters. It seems at times like a brutal and unforgiving process, as difficult as it gets, but I never doubt that it's worth it. It's worth it because you are all worth it. It's worth it because our cause is worth it. It's worth it because our country is worth it. And with your help and your support, we'll prevail again this November. Before I finish, I would like to extend a few important thank yous. I'd like to thank Cleveland Right to Life, its President Molly Smith, and your entire membership for all the tireless work you do. I'd like to thank Salem Communications Radio for promoting life on the air. I'd also like to thank all the churches and church leaders present who tirelessly serve as a voice for the voiceless. And again, you're going to be seeing a lot of me. Get used to it. It's one of the things I did last time. I'm a very strong believer in making sure you know who I am and what I believe in. I've gotten the opportunity to meet Senator Patton over here, and I know that he's going to get tired of seeing me too. But we're going to work together in his area because we all believe in the same thing, and that's the sanctity of life. Once again, I'm so honored to be here today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you for all you do. And thank you for the support this year, last year, and as we move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Congressman Tracy. Wonderful. I wanted to also point out again that we just had another person, I wasn't sure whether they would arrive or not, but City Mission is here over there, so please make sure you go over to City Mission as well. Thank you. And Congressman Macy reminded me, I made a big boo-boo, I apologize. Salem Communication, the word 1440 and 95.5 The Fish are also the sponsors of this particular event. They've done an amazing job of getting the word out. You know, even if people can't arrive sometimes because of whatever's going on in their lives at that point or the weather's affecting them, the fact that Salem Radio puts this out on their radio station makes a huge statement to the area about who they are and what they stand for. So Salem Radio also is one of those groups that is always there beside us. It's an amazing media sponsor for us, and we thank them very much. Right, the next person that we're going to get up is, we've got a very short couple of minutes we want to just take to highlight something that we are going to do that we feel is key in overturning Roe v. Wade and bringing back a culture of life. And that includes all life, from beginning to the end. Obviously the biggest one is abortion. 53 million children have died from abortion. However, we are now seeing a similar sort of number coming at the end of life too. So our organization encompasses all of that whole spectrum. We have a symposium that comes every year. This is the third year we will have done it. It is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. We have world-class speakers come in for 2 days and talk. I am not going to tell you about this. I'm going to call up Maria Dean, who is our symposium chair this year. She's been doing a phenomenal job. Maria, she and her husband have just taken this on, and we are going to have the most amazing symposium. So without further ado, Maria Dean.
Well, thank you very much. You guys are awesome. It's great on this freezing day now that we all know that we really do live in Cleveland and it's going to be snowy and cold in January. So 2 years ago, my husband and I were invited to attend the first Bring America Back to Life Symposium, and we were completely just overtaken with what Molly and her group have been able to do. And last year, at the end of the second gala dinner, we went up to her and said, anything that you need us to do, because we are such strong believers in what you're doing, and the way that you really make a difference in this world is to get people to understand what's happening in our culture. You know, what everybody is doing on a one-on-one is absolutely indispensable, but the way that we're going to win this is by changing the hearts and minds, and the way that we do that is by arming everybody with the facts, with the information, with how did we get here, what does it mean, what are the different ways that we can all get involved. So at all of your seats, There's one of these newsletters that's there, and the information for the symposium is included in the brochure. I've also brought the sponsorship brochures and the group ticket brochures, so if anybody's interested in a more in-depth explanation of who the speakers are going to be, I have a whole box of them, so don't be shy. I have them in the back, or come up to me and I'll be happy to give them to you. But we have an array of speakers that is just, we are so blessed. Father Robert Sirico is going to open us up from the Acton Institute. And he's going to be talking about why in the election year it's important for people of faith to be active in the public square. You know, and what is the difference between, you know, voting your conscience, and what are the limits that people should really understand and take into consideration. So he's just wonderful. And then Hugh Hewitt is going to be broadcasting from the symposium on Friday evening, but in the afternoon for lunch he's going to be moderating a political roundtable that with Mike and Rob's help, we're going to have a lot of the politicians from the state of Ohio there to talk about life issues and why they should be important in a political campaign, particularly in a year when most people are focused on the financial issues. And, you know, at the end of the day, life issues and financial issues are all interwoven, because the way we care for our family and the society is deeply related to the way that we respect the lives of the people in that society. You can't take them apart. And everybody wants to paint the pro-life people as those angry, anti-abortion people. And that's not the case. And what we want to do is get everybody educated and armed with the information that how do you combat that? Because what we want them to know is that we love everyone, whether they're born or not. And, you know, we want to make sure that, you know, Granny isn't pushed off the cliff, you know, the way that they want to portray us, you know, with the Obamacare ads, and that we really do have to protect life at the end of life. Saturday evening, we're going to have Terry Schiavo's brother there to talk to us about end-of-life care and what that means for people in the age of Obamacare, because, you know, as Sarah Palin said, those death panels, they don't call them that, but they're in there. And we need to understand that, and we need to know what we can do to combat that. And first of all is pray for the Supreme Court to have the wisdom to overturn that horrible law. We've got Alveda King on Friday night for the gala dinner. She's awesome. If anybody's ever had a chance to see her before, spread the word. She's just incredible. And what we're trying to do is also have a round table of urban pastors come to help them really undertake the problems that they have in their community, because let's face it, the minority population is about 14% of the total population, but 40% of the abortions. It's eugenics. It's awful. We need to get that word out there. We need to help them combat the problems in their society. So there are 12 speakers, and I probably should have said this first. The MC for the full 2 days is Star Parker, and she is incredible. So if you've not had a chance to, you know, be with Star Parker before, come. You will be entertained. You will be educated. You will be motivated and inspired, because she is just one incredible human being. So if you have any questions, stop me. I'll be back right where the City Mission table is. I have these brochures. Feel free to come and get them. And God bless you for everything that you're doing. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria. She and her husband Brian have done an incredible job, so I do encourage you to check out the symposium. We're going to have a great one this year. And I'd like to introduce right now Senator Tom Patton. He's going to come up and share a few words with us. And really, we don't have a stronger advocate than Tom Patton, so thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much. It is always such a privilege to be among a bunch of heroes. If you take a look to the left of you, who's sitting right to your left, take a look at who's sitting right to your right just for a second. Take a look who's sitting in front or behind you. Ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at a whole bunch of heroes. This is a Saturday in January where it's cold and blustery and wintry, and you guys like to come down here to support what I think is the most vital thing that's going on in this nation right now, the pro-life movement. Give yourselves a round of applause. You're heroes.
Thank you.
Before I was so inspired by Jim Renacci. Jim Renacci did have $8.5 million spent by the opposition, this very good family man, this excellent pro-life man, $8.5 million spent by people saying he's a bad guy. Despite that, I'd like to bring him up here. Drew Renacci, Drew, come up here for a second. You know, I am the father of 6 children. I'm so very, very proud, you know, of my five daughters do such a great job of keeping track of me. So, and keep me, so please get up here for a second. This young man, when his father ran in 2010, along with his siblings and his mom, Mr. Mason, been married for 28 years, good family man, as I said, they had to listen to the pro-abortion people funding his opponent's campaign. Say what a bad guy his dad was. Yet here he is on a Saturday, a young, good-looking guy like today, like he is. What could he be doing today? He's out here with his dad. Give him a round of applause. Families. You know, my own children have always been my best supporters, and I know Jim's children are the same. They never get the credit. They have to sit there and listen to the most vile things being said. And trust me on this, just as strong a group as you are, and you have all of my admiration. Mr. Renacci, Congressman Renacci will be running against a woman who will be funded by those same pro-abortion folks spending millions of dollars again to do that. So please tell your neighbors and your friends to ignore that nonsense. Jim Renacci, Congressman Renacci, has proven to be one of us, a good pro-life man. So before he leaves it, please give him one more round of applause. I'm inspired by the work that he does. You know, in Columbus, Mike Donadakis had made a remark about how he comes knocking at our doors. We passed this year 7 pro-life bills passed and signed into law, the most active General Assembly in the history of the state of Ohio. Mike's leadership on that cannot be measured. When he says he's always knocking on our door as if he's a pest, trust us. Mike he's got the permanent hall pass. He's allowed to walk through the halls of the Senate with full, total, permission, walk in anytime, because every time he walks in the door, doggone it, he's got a really good idea. And Mike, you do a superb job. Please, join him out again. Mike, good job. Very good. And right here close to home, as we mentioned, I grew up here on the west side of Cleveland. I've lived here all my life. I was the 6th of 9 children. My West Side Irish Catholic, typical story, the father of the policeman. I have 5 sisters, 3 brothers. Every still lives in the Cleveland area. I have 36 nieces and nephews. I have 51 great nieces and nephews, and only a few of them have moved out. And people say, why does all your family stick around town? And I said, because I think we're afraid if one of us goes, the rest of them are going to talk about us. So we all stick around. I do want to share a story I saw on the internet this week. Most of you who have probably heard the story, but if there's half a dozen who haven't, it's important, please, to listen to this real quick. I read this on the internet. There's a story about a husband and wife missionary team. The wife came down with a very, very bad infection and was required to get some very, very strong antibiotics. After the conclusion of her antibiotics was discovered, she was pregnant with what would have been her 5th child. She was strongly recommended by the physicians and the medical people, there's going to be irreparable harm. You need to terminate this pregnancy. This woman, this missionary overseas said, no, I will not do that. And she prayed to God. She said, if you help me deliver a healthy son, I will name him Timothy and I will make him a preacher. I dedicate that to you. 4 times during that pregnancy, she almost lost that child. But she did deliver a healthy boy. And she did name him Timothy. And that young man is now Tim Tebow, quarterback of the Denver Broncos. And he will be playing this weekend. And I can tell you something. Again, and this I keep mentioning father, 5 daughters. Anybody that's got a daughter in the room, wouldn't you be thrilled if one of your daughters brought home someone like a Tim Tebow? Wouldn't you be? Because I know I sure would be. And I will tell you something else. My Savior, he really doesn't care if Denver wins or not. But what he does care about is that we protect every unborn life in this country. That's what God cares about. That's what Tim Tebow cares about. That's what all of us care about. So thank you all so very much for being here today.
Thank you, Tom Patton. We can always rely on Tom to get us moving and get us going. And remember, you need to think about what you want to do before you leave. Please sign up and help somebody as we leave here today. Our next guest, I'm very, very thrilled to have her here with us today. She's going to come up and just talk a little bit about what they're doing in their region. And she's driven all the way from Columbus today to be here with us. She's one of our supporters and sponsors for today's event. Ruth Yorston, please come on up. She's the Executive Director of Columbus Right to Life.
Thank you, Molly. You can call me Youth Yorston anytime you want. The youth part is quickly going from my life, so I'll take that where I can get it. Well, it's interesting when I talked to Molly originally, so what would you like me to talk about? And I said, how about I do something to just kind of rally the troops a little bit. But I think after our last speaker that my job is done. So I just want to share one or two things with you. One, why I'm here today. It's a blessing to be in Cleveland. It was really fun for me walking down the streets in Cleveland and coming to this building. My mom lived in Cleveland for 10 years. She did cancer research at Mount Sinai Hospital, which I understand is no longer here. But she did cancer research here in this city for 10 years. And she's been shot in Halle, and all the stories I remember. I grew up in Indiana, my mom talking about coming to Halle department store. So here I am in my mom's favorite shopping center. So it's great to be here in Cleveland, but there's a couple things I want to tell you. First of all, I want to tell you that people like you have made it possible for me to be here. And what I mean by that is that in the mid-1980s, I was one of the people that you were praying for. I was one of the people that you were working to get out of business. That's because I used to work at an abortion facility. It's people like you who pray for people, who go out and minister on the sidewalks in front of abortion facilities and pray for the people who are working there, that made it possible for me to come out of that industry and now to be in full-time ministry. So just know that what you do, whatever you're doing, you're making a huge difference. And you may not even know it, are having an incredible impact on someone's life. So thank you. Thank you for coming down and standing for life. How many of you marched from the public square today? Woohoo! It was cold, but it was good to get out and literally stand and march for life and carry those signs and tell the people in downtown Cleveland, hey, we're here to say something to you, and we're here to say that life begins at conception and that life matters from conception until natural death and through natural death. Well, what I want to do today is actually not so much tell you about what we're doing in Columbus, although we got some great stuff going on. I want to encourage you to get involved in your own community. Cleveland Right to Life has got it going on, without a doubt. I look at this website, and I look to see what Molly's doing, and I think, how can I bring some of that to Columbus? Cleveland Right to Life is helping to pave, is helping to pave the way for some of the rest of us who look for examples of what can be done in our community. The symposium that you have coming up here in March, this is amazing that you have this in your community. So there's a couple things I want you to do. There are some tables back here with some great ministries. If you haven't volunteered for one of these groups yet, it's time to get up. Not this moment, but here, it's time to get up and go and volunteer and find something that you can do in this community that makes a difference. But whatever else you do, I'm asking you to support and get involved with Cleveland Right to Life. support Cleveland Right to Life. Please go up and sign on my website. Get out to that symposium and get yourself educated. I'm going to do one thing that Molly doesn't expect, but I know when everyone's chair is this envelope. I was very pleased to see this in this envelope. Sometimes our education programming is the hardest thing to raise money for, because it's the hardest thing sometimes to show what we're accomplishing. But you're accomplishing people like me. And I'm really grateful for organizations like Cleveland Right to Life, who educated the person who shared life with me and helped me to get out of that industry. So I'm asking every single one of you today, this is not a fundraiser, but I'm asking every single one of you today anyway to pull out this envelope. If you've got some change in your pocket, if you've got a couple bills, if you've got a check that you can write, would you do that to help Molly to make sure that she can get out there and get this work done? Would you do that? Bless you all. March on.
Thank you so much, Ruth. And I honestly did not ask you to do that. It's not a fundraiser, but we'll take whatever dollars you have in your pocket. So. Before I go to the next person, I want to just also call out and thank somebody very special who stepped up and helped us this year, and that's Tom Oschlager. Tom, did you notice I got your name right? Oh my goodness, I had Tom on my radio program. He was one of the very first people who came onto the program. And before I went on the air, I know Tom very well, but I just know it's Tom. He told me that his name rhymed with beer, lava, and I was trying to do this ocean. La Beer. And for the life of me, the whole program, I kept calling him the wrong thing. It was hysterical, but he was very gracious about it. So thank you, Tom, for being on the square with us today and leading everything. The next person I want to bring up is a very, very important person who I think is doing, the organization is doing mighty, mighty work in Ohio. And without further ado, I'm going to ask Pat Andrea to come up from Northeast Ohio Rights to Life and talk about the campaign that they have got going. I think as soon as he starts talking, you're going to understand who he is and what they're doing, and you will have seen some of their work. So when you see this, remember that this is where it's coming from, through the vision of Pat Andrea.
Thank you, Molly. Good afternoon. We've had the tremendous success of Ohio Right to Life, and we've met and heard from many of our legislators. And as a businessman, I looked at this horrific situation we find ourselves in as a country, 54 million and counting aborted. And after discernment, I looked at this from a business perspective, because let's face it, no matter what they say and how much they lie, Planned Parenthood is a business in this for money and evil. Well, the legislators are dealing with the supply side of the business. In other words, how can we minimize the availability of this particular service? And we're looking at it, and what we're doing, the Life Collaboration Campaign, from the demand side. Supply and demand. The demand is the woman in a crisis pregnancy, and whether or not she'll choose life or abort her baby. Through that came an inspired campaign. This campaign has 7 major life partners in it. We started with Northfield East Ohio Right to Life, Heroic Media, national media organization, Heartbeat International, our many, many pregnancy centers throughout the state of Ohio, the Knights of Columbus, and ICU Mobile, and finally Option. And we've all connected together to reach out, as Pope John Paul II said, in radical solidarity with women in crisis pregnancy. And we bring them a message of hope and of compassion and connect them to life-affirming resources. At our booth back here, you'll see that there are 3 different billboards. We started first in late 2010 in Northeast Ohio, first in Summit County, and then expanded to Cauca and Portage County, where we started with about 50 billboards, expanded to 150. Just a couple of weeks ago, we launched a 400 billboard program throughout the state of Ohio. You'll see them in different locations. These billboards are strategically developed to reach a woman in crisis pregnancy because she is making the life or death decision. That's who we want to reach, and that's who we are trying to direct to help. Another component, major component of the program is internet advertising. In the first week alone that we began internet advertising statewide, there were somewhere between 300 and 400 internet connections of women in this crisis seeking help. And we've connected them to our partner, Option Line and Heartbeat International. We're in the back. We'd love to say hello to you. For every dollar that we raise, $3 is spent on this campaign because of our partners, Heroic Media and Heartbeat International, who have matched our dollars. So thank you very much, Molly, and thank you for the wonderful work you did.
Well, now we get into what we're all waiting for. We're about to introduce our keynote speaker for this evening. But before we do that, I'd ask a wonderful gentleman and friend from over here to come and stand in front of me, right here, Frank. Okay, he has got a bus that's going to DC. Please see Frank if you need to go to DC. He does this every year religiously, does a great job with this, so please. Frank will be over by our booth, so that you can come and sign up and get information from him. Thank you so much, Frank. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. All right, and once again, I must remind you all before I introduce Tracy that there are 3 books over here, books, CDs, and bookmarks. You really want to read this book. It's an amazing book. I do know the Christian Educators Association International, they do amazing work. They've managed to get into the schools and do very, very meaningful work. So you'll really enjoy the book that they've got over there for us. And thanks again to Scott Sedlak for providing us with the music. Tracy, come on up. I'm actually going to let Tracy introduce herself. Tracy was on the radio program last week, and I have to say, the little girl that does the soundboard behind the screen and through the window, when Tracy left, I went through to talk to her, and she said to me, Molly, that is the best guest you've ever had on. So Tracy, yeah, it was so lovely. Her story is amazing. She's just such a beautiful woman. She has such courage, and I cannot say enough of her. So thank you, Tracy, for being here with us today. I give you Tracy Bihary, who's going to tell you her story and talk about her book, Chocolate Cake in Heaven. You're going to be absolutely thrilled. It just touches your heart with this story.
Thank you, everybody. I've actually brought my cell phone up in case the lights go out, and I have a little app on it with a flashlight. Actually came in useful for something. So my name is Tracy Bihary, as Molly kindly introduced me. I've been married to Dwayne for 10 years, and we have 4 children. Brittany is 22, Chris 21, Anthony 19. And today I heard a nice terminology from my little one, the caboose lady. She is 4. So I'm here today to talk about the book, and I'll kind of circle back to that at the end. One little thing I wanted to share is on the radio station, I introduced the children and mentioned that my daughter was 21. And she heard the playback on Tuesday and was fervently texting me saying, I'm 22. Well, I guess she's not reached that age where it's okay to be a year younger. So let me set the scene for you. 12 years ago, I found myself pregnant and alone with 2 children, and listened to the peers, family and friends that I couldn't afford to keep a new baby. It wasn't fair on the 2 children that I had, and abortion was the only answer for me. During that time, a week before, I'd actually found out. I'd been to a thrift store with my children and given Brittany, who was I think 10 at the time, some money. She went off, being a big girl, wanted to buy a gift or a toy. And it was only when we got home that I remembered I'd given her this money. She paid for it herself, and she said, "Mum, I bought you something today." And I was quite shocked, and I thought she'd have bought herself a little toy. But she gave me a gift, and I unwrapped it, and the gift hangs in my bedroom as a permanent reminder that God talks to us in many different ways, and He was certainly trying to talk to me that day. He might as well have picked the telephone up himself and read the words to me, but I unwrapped this gift, and it was a picture, and there was a teddy bear on the left, and on the right were the words, "Children are a gift of the Lord," Psalm 127-3. How more obvious could Christ have been in trying to tell me something that was about to happen? One of the reasons I'm here today is to also talk about the Cleveland Pregnancy Center and the ministry that they do. And if I hadn't found the Cleveland Pregnancy Center when I did, I truly don't know where I would be today. One of the most ironic situations I found myself in that weekend was the anniversary weekend of my abortion. Was the Cleveland Right to Life weekend. Didn't know anything about it at the time, and it was a Saturday when I had the abortion. Monday on the way to work, I saw the big poster on 480 of the fetus and the Right to Life weekend. And again, there was my reminder of what had taken place. So here's a question for you. What is abortion? Well, I can tell you what it's not. It's not a quick fix. It's not the answer. Many women today, I can't remember the statistics, and I spoke about this on the radio show with Molly, but many women find themselves, even years later after their abortion, suffering from post-abortive syndrome, or PAS. And it's not a very well-recognized syndrome from the medical end of the society, sadly, and I hope more to come down the road from that. It's a very serious situation to find yourself in, and mine was almost immediate. When I'd had the abortion and I woke up from my stupor of drugs in the clinic, I heard in the background a girl crying, and I came to, and the girl was sitting next to me, and I grabbed her hand, and at that moment, the door opened, and the nurse, for want of a better word, came in and said, "What are you crying for? That's what you came in for, wasn't it?" Harsh dose of reality hit me smack in the head. What had I done? I terminated the life of my child. It was final. There was no going back. I suffered guilt, anxiety, self-loathing, just a permanent barrage of negativity over quite a long period of time, even to the point where I hallucinated. I would even see a little ballet dancer coming into work with me. I'd park the car and get out, and there was this little girl twirling next to me. One evening on the way home from dropping the children off at their father's house, I was mindlessly driving as you do, lost in thought, and I was with the baby and listening to the music and just beating myself up as I did daily. And I looked to my left and saw a fetus trying to get in the car with me, and it was angry and mad at me. And it was just a really, really difficult time in my life. Some women, years later, with the post-abortive syndrome, can be vacuuming and suddenly get a reminder from the noise of the experience that they went through. Not all women suffer to that extreme, but every suffering in that situation needs healing. And the Cleveland Pregnancy Center basically gave my life back to me. They helped me find my soul again. The program that I went through was HEART, and that's the healing effects of abortion-related trauma. And they're a Christ-centered teaching facility. There's no judgment, you find peace, and you have recognition of the child that you terminated. The one area that I really found difficult was struggling with forgiveness. I found the Lord again. He'd always gone fishing for me, that's how I describe it in the book. And he'd reach out and I'd be basking in his love, and then I'd go off and I'd do my own thing, and I'm not listening, Lord, and I'd come back again, and that's how my relationship with Christ went on. But when I was with Cleveland Pregnancy Center, it all came back, it all fell into place, and the Lord finally hooked me in for good. And during the week, when I was at the radio station, one of the ladies I met there happens to teach a class on, like similar to the HEART program. And she asked me, did you struggle with forgiveness? And I said, yes, I did. I said, I actually wrote about it in the book. There's a section on that. And she said a lot of her women in the class feel the same that I did. And that's, you realize Christ forgives you, but you can't forgive yourself. And it's a long struggle to overcome that. And when you think about it, that's quite arrogant to think that, well, I know Christ forgives me, but I just don't forgive myself for that. Christ's forgiveness is all encompassing. You're forgiven. There's no more to be said. Just at that point, I'm just going to read a little bit from the book. Week 3 entered into the world of forgiveness, and the one area that I seemed to have most difficulty with. I understood that forgiveness meant letting go, and that's perhaps the one reason why I didn't want to. I still felt so entwined with my actions, and letting them go would leave me in a new vulnerable world. Many women experience this, and it's through education that we're going to be able to help women understand that they can be healed and forgiven. So, how do we get across our messages that abortion is wrong? A heartbeat doesn't determine if a baby lives or dies. Living in the womb is just as much a life as living outside. Forgiveness and healing is available to those that have had an abortion. You don't have to be alone, and you don't have to suffer. Let's educate our leaders. We are so blessed to have congressmen that are for the fight for pro-life. Even in the church, we need to educate our leaders. During that time in my life, I was suffering, needed advice and help, and I actually went to a church to speak to the pastor, and it was a lady, and I thought, this is great, she's going to be understanding and really give me what I need to hear. And I looked for the forgiveness of sins, and that abortion was wrong, and that God loves me, and everything would be okay. And as I asked her about what I had done, her response to me was, "That's okay, dear," she said. "I would have done the same thing if I was in your shoes." Well, I reeled back from that. That was not the response I expected to hear from a church leader. And I pity the congregation that she ministers to. We have a battle to win, and we have a hill to climb. And unfortunately, there are many ignorant people out there that don't understand what life is, and it starts at conception. So, from my experiences, I wrote Chocolate Cake in Heaven. All the proceeds go to the Cleveland Pregnancy Center, and I encourage you, there's a little table at the back with some pledge cards, just to say that you would purchase the book, and that the Cleveland Center would receive all those proceeds. It helped me get my life back, and the reason I called it Chocolate Cake in Heaven was because this was the one area that I used to self-indulge myself with, berating and feeling guilty that the baby I had aborted would never get to experience a birthday party, would never get to hear the balloons, would never smell the chocolate cake or eat the chocolate cake. And I so enjoyed thinking about that, because the worse I felt, the better I felt. I didn't feel worthy to be forgiven. And I'll just read another section here. I would bring the image so clearly into view that I could almost smell the warm chocolate baking in the oven and hear the laughter of the other children at the party. Balloons popping, children screaming with exuberance, and chairs being bumped into from all the running around. But of course, without the guest of honor. My chocolate cake experiences were so very welcome to me that they added more nails into my personal cross that I bore and carried. The weight of guilt felt good to me, the heavier it became. So you can see how this post-abortive syndrome can eat into your life. But the good news is that I know Savannah, who is my daughter, who's with Christ and looking down today, I know she eats chocolate cake in heaven. And that's where the title came from. I know that she's with Christ and He loves her, and she celebrates her birthdays every year just as she would down here. The last thing I want to leave you with is Savannah's message. And I have a website, chocolatecakeinheaven.com. And you can read that. There's some good links on there to the Cleveland Pregnancy Center. Also, some contact information for those that are in need of help or need of healing. And this is Savannah's message. Mama, I can see you as I sit against His feet. You know that one day we will hug upon our chance to meet, and you will see the lives we save, our stories not in vain. To reach out, stop the killing, end the needless death and pain. I've waited for this moment, Mama. Know that I love you, and that I'm with you every day in everything you do. Read this book and story, please, to share with whom you know. Let Mama's words reach out to you to plant a seed and grow. Heaven's much too crowded now with babies just like me. Please help end all abortions. Help the government to see. And that's from Savannah Grace, voice of the unborn, yet alive in Jesus. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tracy. That's just amazing. Wow. Thank you for your courage. And I know that there's also Bethesda House of Mercy at the back there that you'd like to get information from them too. We are at the close of our program, and I wanted to just remind people two more things. We keep telling you that it's time to get involved. Please do something. This coming Friday, Friday the 20th, we will be having a youth rally down on the square, right where you were just marched from now. Please get your youth out and come and be there. Rob Netkin and Virginia Halle are both there. I'm going to actually have to skip through this because we're running a little late. But Rob and Virginia have been involved in this since, oh my gosh, how many years have you guys been doing this?
29 years.
29 years they've been down on the square there, so it's amazing. We get about 150 kids out normally, and so please, if you're young, anybody under the age of 27, come down. If you're over 27, come down and listen. Please be there. And then the final thing that I want to remind you all, get involved, be part of this so that we don't have to, as Tracy just said, we don't have to relive this experience and we don't have to we bring an end to this. We have sitting at the back there a wonderful young woman who's just stepped up and taken control of our oratory contest. Melissa is going to be in charge of the oratory contest, which is we're bringing back into the Cleveland area through the help of High Rights to Life. That will be taking place in March and April. So there's all kinds of things you can get involved in. I'm going to ask Tom Oschlager to come up and do his final little plug, and then we're going to have some music from Scott to end off. And I just want to thank you all so much for being here. You have no idea what a boost it gives those little ones, I know. Yes. Yeah, we're going to talk about that right now.
Thank you very much, Molly. Thank you all for being here today. You just heard a compelling story, and I couldn't help but think, you know, a vast portion of the ladies who go through abortion are victims of a slick marketing campaign by the only one true evil big corporation, and that's Planned Parenthood. Abortion is big business. Don't ever believe anything different. From what they tell you, abortion is big business. Abortion is their big ticket item. And being in sales myself, I know that the big push is towards whatever your big ticket item is, abortion happens to be theirs. So these ladies themselves are victims. And that goes together with the work that Molly does, that Cleveland Right to Life does, that Ohio Right to Life does. Not only are they out there fighting for those little unborn babies and for the old and infirm, they're also out there fighting for these ladies who've gone through this act. Ladies like our last guest here, they're fighting for them to get them the help that they need to heal and to become whole again. That is why I'm here to ask you now to please give whatever you can to Cleveland Right to Life. Doing this kind of thing costs money. Doing what Molly does every single day costs money. And the only way that they're surviving is by donations from you and me and other people that they know. So I'm asking you to please take that envelope that's on your table in front of you, put a few bucks in it, and give it onto the stand back in the back here. I'd get down on my knees and beg you if I could get back up again. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Molly, you're doing great work. Thank you for doing what you're doing. She gives me too much credit.
Remember that there are free books over there. Please go by and pick them up, and God bless you all. Thank you. If you are making donations, please drop the donations at the Right to Life table. Thank you all.